Now, if you guys look, do you see the road straight in front of us? They're kind of going over the hills there, kind of meandering up towards gaining some height in the distance. Now, to the right-hand side, there's some bumps on top of that bridge and kind of a plateau. That is the summit of Kilauea. It's not up here. That's Mauna Loa. That's Kilauea's summit. It's only about 4,000 feet in height. I'm going to come back to volcanoes in a moment, but look down here on the right-hand side. You guys see what looks like the old remains of a pier there? So that's called Whittington Bay, Whittington Pier. Now, before that particular one was built, the Kanaka had built, in about 1600, a pier before that, so that they could trade larger items around the island using canoe. They didn't have to move it on foot. Then in the 1800s, that particular pier was built by Ka'u Sugar. So they used that pier to unload the sugar onto the ships that would then take it back to the mainland. But now in 1951, the Americans were still a bit on edge after Pearl Harbor and such, and they wanted to make sure there was nowhere on the big island that the Japanese could land. And they considered Whittington Bay and that pier a potential risk. So they actually came down and bombed their own pier so that the Japanese could not land there. That's why it's left in that sort of skeletal remain. Now, about 30 years later, there was a Boy Scout troop that was camping down here in this park. And a huge tsunami came through and it wiped all 6 boys out to sea. But they had become such good swimmers they made it back to shore. And one of those boys went on to become a pretty famous engineer in the town of Na'alegu. He went on to work on the Hubble telescope. He was the guy that was behind the kind of crisis team when the mirrors had shifted inside of it. Anyways, in about 10 minutes or so, we are going to be at the Black Sand Beach. Now, black sand beaches, they are pretty simply formed, also formed during eruptions. But all it is basically when lava comes down out of the volcanoes, out of the flames, and it hits the ocean. There's such an immediate shift in temperature that it cools and it explodes. It all like shatters because there's such a big pressure buildup. When that happens, it creates what appears to be like a micro gravel. So if you pick up the black sand when we're at the beach and move it around, you'll see it's actually quite coarse in appearance. Now, it's nice that it's a sunny day today because when you are moving it around in your hand, you'll notice it's quite glittery, almost sparkly in appearance. That's because the lava in Hawaii has a remarkably high amount of silica. And silica is the element that creates glass, and that's what gives it a kind of sparkly appearance. Now, black sand beaches are very much unlike white sand beaches in the sense that they are finite. A white sand beach is usually composed of a breakdown of coral reefs, kind of washes up on the beach over and over again, constantly refeeding this beach. But now black sand is fed from the land, they're from eruptions. So when that eruption stops, nothing is contributing to the size of that beach anymore. It only gets smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, it's said that if you take black sand or green sand or lava rock off the island, Pele will put a curse on you. Now, every now and then people do still sneak a bit off, but then things happen like they get a flat tire, they miss their flight, so much so that the post office gets inundated with lava rock every year, and little letters that say, "I'm so sorry I took this, please can you put it back on the volcano?" So they have behind their office 3 stacks, one for black sand, one for green sand, and one for just general lava rock, and once a year they go and return it to the black sand, green sand, or the volcano. So it does still happen. Now, funnily enough, I was on tour the one day a couple of months ago, and we were already up on the Hamakua coast, and I was telling my guests about the curse of Pele. And we came across a roadblock that day. There was a wildfire. We had to turn around, go all the way back down to Hilo and up and over Salva Road. It added like 3 hours to being in the car that day. Now I had on board a family. It was the parents and their daughter, about 6 years old. And I hadn't seen this happen. Some other guests had to fill me in. But I was down, we were at the Black Sand Beach, and I was down one side of the beach and they were on the other. And the mom brought with them a huge water bottle and filled the whole thing up with black sand. Which kind of disguised it after that. Anyways, we get to the roadblock, And the daughter shouts out, "Mom, you stole all that black sand. Now Corey's put a curse on us."
Oh my god.
Of course, she's like nudging her, "Be quiet."
Oh my god.
Guys, there's a sign coming up I want to point out to you, but I probably won't be able to stop because traditionally there are cars behind me. But take a look at this sign very quickly, just over here. You guys see that little sign?
Yeah.
And what's the little man doing?
Running into the waves.
Running into the waves, exactly. Yeah, if these tsunami sirens go off, don't do that. Run to the van. We'll be going the other way very fast.